The following is a Tony Lasano podcast, an Opie show on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. This is Free Kicks. All right, Adam is on the line. He's back in the country, and I just wanted to make sure you still have a job. You have not been fired, right?
I haven't been fired.
Okay.
There might be a few opportunities. You never know.
Well, yeah. We'll talk about that in a second. There have now been 13 managers fired in the Premier League during this season. But Adam is still fully employed in the soccer world. So that's a good news, right? And,
that's right.
It's also time for Free Kicks, which is other good news.
And now, Free Kicks. Free Kicks with Illinois Youth Soccer Association's Director of Coaching, Adam Howarth, and Rick Kemper.
So, as I mentioned, 3 teams fired managers since we last spoke. 3 different parts of the table. Near the top of the table, Tottenham let Conte go.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the table, Chelsea let Graham Potter go. At the bottom of the table, Leicester City let Brendan Rodgers, not Fraser, go. So let me ask you this, our soccer expert, our football expert. Are you surprised by any of those moves?
Not terribly. Probably the biggest surprising one was the Brendan Rodgers. In terms of the fact that, obviously they were struggling. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games. But I think he really hasn't received any help to get him out of that situation. So there's not been really anything he could have done. And I think I don't know if you saw some of the comments from some of the players. They were extremely complimentary. So I think it wasn't necessarily his fault. It was more of, I would probably even blame the club, the fact that they didn't back him in the transfer window to maybe get him out of the situation, and that was part of the problem. And you think
he might have gone in and told him that too?
Yeah, I think there was definitely. I honestly thought he might have left right after the transfer window, on his own terms. But then, obviously, the results have kind of gotten worse in the last few weeks, and so that's led to him getting out of there. And then maybe that's an easy chance for them to get rid of him, but at least he'll get a little, a fairly nice little wage to go to leave with. So I guess that's the good thing.
Yeah, a little golden parachute.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that. But the other 2, Conte, obviously, the negative comments afterwards was always going to lead to him going, and then obviously the results for Chelsea have not been quite there. It's definitely been a bit of a mess, and so that's led to Graham Potter leaving.
Boy, they didn't give him much of a chance, did they?
No. I was listening to somebody, I think it was back in England when I was there, I was listening to, I think, Gary Neville talking a little bit about basically he was given all the sweets in the sweet shop, but he didn't know which ones to pick.
Right.
So, and that was the thing. And the ones he did pick were the wrong ones, and those are the ones that nobody liked. And so it was just one of those things where he just couldn't get it right. I just don't know if it was really a totally good fit. I think if he would have been maybe not, you hate to say this, if he wasn't given these crazy amount of players to work with, maybe it might have been a little bit easier. But, they had 30-odd players he had to pick from, and trying to keep them happy was going to probably be a massive task. And he didn't, obviously, people go back and say he didn't have the resume in terms of winning championships and leaning back on that. So it was just easy for them to probably say no thanks to Graham because he hadn't achieved anything. He didn't have that history behind him backing himself up. So that led to him to a fairly quick demise, which was a shame. I think only 30 games in charge, which was tough.
Well, you must say this, that the Chelsea fans were a little worried when an American was going to take over for the Russian oligarch. It turns out the Americans are just as bad as the Russian oligarchs when it comes to firing managers. Same deal, right?
Exactly. It seems like that's what in a lot of ways, this was probably his best move in terms of the current situation to maybe move on. But my goodness, he's going to have to probably pay a huge amount of money to get a new one in. I mean, remember, Graham Potter had a 5-year contract. So,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, he's going to be obviously getting paid a good, significant amount of money to leave. But, I mean, they're talking about Pochettino, Zidane, Luis Enrique, Nagelsmann, the Bayern Munich manager. I mean, you're probably going to get a big name coming in.
Who was also fired, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So he was done. And ironically, the former Chelsea manager is now at Bayern Munich.
Yeah,
so that's
right.
That's the crazy thing. So you've got there's lots of options. I think they'll probably go with one of those big time. And this is what Chelsea does, right? So for the last 20 years, we've been very successful firing managers and then getting new ones and still winning trophies.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea wins the Champions League somehow. I wouldn't be surprised. They've done it before. And then same thing with Tottenham and Leicester. They've got to try to figure out where they're going to go. I think Tottenham will probably be a fairly big name. As for Leicester, there was a discussion that Graham Potter was offered the job already. That may have just been a rumor.
Wow.
That would be an interesting move.
That might be a better fit for him, to be honest with you.
Yeah, true. That's true.
And Conte, he could always come back to Chelsea.
Yeah, possibly. There could be that opportunity.
He won a title there, right?
Yeah, but I think he's very well liked by the fans just because of his success as a manager.
Yeah,
I just can't see it happening. I think they'll go with somebody fresh. It'll be a big time coach, that's for sure. Pochettino is my bet.
All right, we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, let's talk about this.
Premier League football. What's happening on the pitch?
We have to talk about what's happening on the pitch, too. Lots of games this week between this taping and the dropping of the episode. So we're going to try to focus on the games that have already been played over this past weekend because there were some big ones. Arsenal right now is in cruise control. A 4-1 win over Leeds. And even though Man City spanked Liverpool 4-1,
yeah,
they're still 8 points behind. I know they have a game in hand, and they're playing great. But Arsenal, all they have to do is not lose, right?
Yeah, exactly. If they keep winning out, I mean, we've got basically 9 games left, right, for them. If they keep winning, it's going to be Man City just can't catch them.
Right.
Now, the only thing is, and this might be negative for Manchester City, is that they'll have 2 games a week for the most part, right? So they're going to play Champions League games. They've got league games. So that could slow them down. Whereas Arsenal, they don't have anything to worry about. They just got knocked out of the Europa League. So they're out of that. And and are out of all the other cups. The only thing that they need to focus on is the league. So they got 1 game a week that probably will help them prepare themselves for each game.
Right.
So I think that's the tough thing. But Man City still has to play Arsenal, and like you said, they are playing great. They looked really good. Jack Grealish, especially, was I thought fantastic. They're doing well. But like you said, Arsenal just keeps finding ways to win, and they keep getting excited. So that's for sure.
Well, my question is, when they do win it, or if they do win it, how do they up the celebration? Because if you're celebrating, a nice corner kick, the way they celebrate everything at just a ridiculous level. What happens when they actually win the Premiership?
It's going to be the biggest celebration ever, you would think. Yeah, I agree.
All right, so there was also a mid-table scuffle between Chelsea and Aston Villa. And I'm sure you know about this one. Graham Potter certainly knows about this one.
Yeah.
But our fashion critic, Todd Schneider, is a Aston Villa fan and was all over your text messages, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah. It was a tough one. Well, if it's any consolation, I mean, when Aston Villa beats Chelsea, it's such a rare occurrence, we have to fire our manager. So that gives you an idea of how low it is. The fact
and again, if the wind blows hard, you fire your manager. So let's be honest.
The funny thing is, I watched that whole game. I was there. It was great to watch it in England, Sky Sports, in a pub. That was great. But the first half, they had so many chances. They looked pretty good. I was quite happy, even though they were down a goal. I was quite happy with how they were playing. They were creating chances. But the second half was really poor. Chelsea were really, really poor in the second half. And I think that second half led to Graham Potter getting fired, I think, because of how poorly they played. I think Aston Villa, to give them a lot of credit, they got the second goal. McGinn was fantastic in the midfield. Probably the best game I've ever seen him play. And that second goal was really, really something special. But it's amazing on how things are flipped. I think Chelsea were so many, 12 places above Villa in October, and now it's the reverse. Now Villa's above Chelsea. So that gives you an idea. Because remember, Villa were in the relegation, problems there, dealing with issues. That's why they got rid of Steven Gerrard. So that's why they moved in a different direction.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's things are going to change, hopefully, for the better as Chelsea moves forward. Congrats to Aston Villa, who are, as we mentioned, they are mid-table mediocrity at its best.
And ahead of Chelsea.
Position, and ahead of Chelsea. And only a point behind Liverpool.
That's true, too. I'm being awful quiet about that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there was another team that struggled, that's for sure.
Yeah, let's talk about the bottom of the table instead. Because the bottom of the table is still the race to watch as far as I'm concerned.
Awesome.
As we tape this show, the bottom three are Leeds United, Leicester City, and Southampton. But 4 teams are only 1 point ahead. 4 teams. Everton, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, and West Ham. Really, it's anybody's game here. Any of these 7 teams could go down.
I totally agree. It's such a hard pick. I mean, when you look at it, Southampton's in probably the worst trouble, obviously, with 23 points. Leicester's got the worst form of the bottom 3, 4 losses, and that may have led to, obviously, the sacking of Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah.
Leeds are so inconsistent. Everybody's struggling. The team that I think might be starting to move in a good direction is Everton. Even though I don't know if you watched the game at all yesterday,
yes,
they scored that fantastic goal by Keane to tie the game. That was really something special, and it was kind of a scrappy game to say the least. Anyway, but what a laser from their centre back to tie it up. It was a really amazing shot to do it. Michael Keane. It was basically the 90th minute. With both teams down to 10 men there at the end. But give Sean Dyche a lot of credit for getting them out of the relegation zone. Still got a lot of work to do, but at least they are moving in a good direction.
Well, I'm looking at these 7 teams' names here. Everton, have they ever dropped out of the Premier League since it began?
No, they've been in it forever, yeah.
Right. Leicester City was a champion less than 10 years ago, right?
That's right.
Southampton's been in the Premier League for quite a long time. West Ham has been in the Premier League for a very long time. It would be a major disappointment for the fans of any of these teams to go down. It would be just a city-crushing thing, wouldn't it?
Oh, for sure. I mean, any of these teams that go down, it's going to have a massive effect on the club itself. They're going to have to revamp a little bit, regroup. Obviously, it's working really well for Burnley, who went down last year.
Yeah.
I was able to get to see them play. We'll talk about that later. But they was able to push themselves up, and now they're on the verge of getting promoted. So for some teams, it might be a good thing. It may kind of recharge their batteries and a little bit of a reset. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but picking the bottom 3 here, very difficult.
Right.
But Southampton's probably in the worst shape just because they played an extra game as well, and they have one of the worst goal differentials as well.
Yeah, I was looking at the schedule. It could come down to that final week. It probably will. In fact, it almost certainly will, right? And because here are 3 of the games that last week. All right, West Ham versus Leicester City, Everton versus Bournemouth, and Nottingham Forest versus Crystal Palace. All playing in that last week. And Crystal Palace is in the danger zone too.
Yeah, for sure. And they recently fired their manager as well.
Yeah.
So so they're definitely down there. They're probably got a little bit more breathing room, but they've also played extra games. They're 29 games in. West Ham is probably got the best shape, but because they played the least amount of games and have one of the better goal differentials. So I think they're going to be in good shape.
And I think they just have the most talent out of all those teams.
Oh, yeah. No question. No question.
So that always helps. Talent always helps.
Yeah,
all right. Well, let's keep an eye on that because that's going to be the story of the year. Free Kicks is brought to you by the Illinois Youth Soccer Association.
Illinois Youth Soccer has been proudly serving the Illinois soccer community since 1975 and has a strong history of credibility. Illinois Youth Soccer is a non-profit corporation, official state association and charter member of the U.S. Soccer Federation, state association and charter member of U.S. Youth Soccer, administers U.S. Soccer Federation coaching programs, the Olympic Development Program, and U.S. Soccer Federation referee programs. For more information, go to illinoisyouthsoccer.org.
Okay, now, as long as we're talking about Illinois Youth Soccer, I believe that you have at least a report to give. You just came back from Jolly Ole, and you went to see a bunch of games, and you were on a bunch of grounds of Premier League teams. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, it was really a fantastic trip. I mean, I was so excited for the players who went on that trip. We took over a mix of mostly 2010 boys and 2011 boys as well. Got to play 3 games. We played Tranmere, Fletcher Moss, which was a grassroots group, and then obviously Burnley the last game. But all of the things that we did in between were great. I mean, we got to visit Anfield, we got to visit Old Trafford, the Etihad. We went to went to Wembley as well. Got to see the England-Ukraine game. Went to Burnley to watch their game against Sunderland, packed stadium, and then went to a non-league game as well the very last day. We basically covered every gamut in terms of everything. Got to see a couple of castles. Went to Windsor Castle. Went to Conway Castle.
Wow.
Couldn't have done. Yeah, went to Chester, spent a little time in there as well. So we got a little sightseeing. It was really one of the best trips that I've ever taken in terms of football, with also a little bit of culture put in there. But obviously, it was very heavy on the football side, which I absolutely loved, and I know the kids enjoyed it. I feel bad for the parents. They spent so much money on new shirts for the kids. I think some kids left with a shirt from every place.
Yeah,
but that's okay. Those mega stores did some serious. Got some serious damage done there from us, but really fantastic. And
yeah,
what was really
nice they're not morons. The way they lead you through the fields, and then on your way out, let's go through the gift shop. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's no longer a gift shop. They call them mega stores, and that's basically what it is. It really is. I mean, you start obviously outside the mega store, and then you finish in the mega store. And just go ahead and buy some shirts. And, it was great. I to be fair, I mean, I'd never been to Old Trafford. That was really kind of neat to see. I was really, and I had been to Liverpool before, but I hadn't been in amongst it. I think that was, for me, was one of the more impressive stadiums. I don't know, I didn't know if you know this, but they're adding a kind of more seats as well. So they're adding more to the one stand opposite from the Kop. So they're going to be adding another 10,000 seats at Liverpool. So it's going to be close to 60,000. Yeah, 61,000. I think if I remember they're going to be maybe, and they always compare themselves to Everton and Manchester United. It might be a little bit over what Man United's capacity is. And I think that's part of the deal. It might be like 1 or 2 seats more. So that's kind of it. So it may be closer to 70,000 by the time everything's done. So, yeah, so that was good.
Did you go to John, Paul, George, or Ringo's house while you were in Liverpool?
Did. We didn't go to his house. We went down the main street there. What is it? What's the name of that street there in Liverpool? We kind of where the cavern is. So we did check that out. So we went to see that, and then we kind of had some dinner in the Docklands area. That was really quite nice. That was kind of fun. So that area in Liverpool where they have like little side streets, it's almost like a little mini Nashville with all the music going on. There was a few songs there being played, so that was quite cool. So I'd never been in that area before. So we got to do that. Yeah, and obviously getting to see a couple of castles. The players appreciated that. So Conway Castle in Wales, which was good. So they got a little bit of, they went to another country. It was quite funny. We always would joke, you don't need another passport. You don't need to show your passport. We're just going England to Wales. You're okay. So that was quite good. And then obviously Windsor Castle, which was great, and then the 3 games really good. Our first game against Tranmere was fantastic, 11-goal thriller, which we came out on the right side of it 6-5. So that was awesome. Yeah, that was really a really good game. Couple of defeats in the last 2, but they were good games. Second one was probably a tough one because the kids on the other team seemed a little bit older and a little bit bigger and stronger, but really put up a good fight against Burnley's academy as well. So that was good. So competition was great for them. I think they appreciated that. And it was, it couldn't have asked for a better experience.
Okay, cool. Well, we have more to do on this show, including your favorite feature.
Time now to guess the Premier League star.
Okay, so you should be totally up on everything now. You've been to all these fields.
Yeah.
You've been watching English TV where they talk about nothing other than football. So
that's right.
Here we go. All right, this week's Premier League star is 32 years old.
Okay.
So he's been around, and he's playing for his second Premier League team. All right.
Okay.
Here's the giveaway. His go-to karaoke song is a song by Vegedreams.
Oh, yeah. That's giving it away completely. I don't even know who that is.
Okay. I don't either. He wears the same number as former baseball great Mickey Mantle, the same number as former American football great John Elway, the same number as former soccer great George Best.
Okay. So he wears number 7.
That's it. Right. He has been around so long. How long has he been around? He has won a Premier League title, a Champions League title, and a World Cup title. And he wore 3 different uniforms accomplishing that feat.
Okay.
All right, so obviously he's not an English player.
Yeah. I think I might have an idea, and I'm guessing this could be a player that recently just came back from an injury. Would that be fair to say?
That would be fair to say.
All right, and he was out for a long time, since August, and it was great to see him back on the pitch.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised you threw this player in there because obviously of my ties to the club. So my guess is going to be the fantastic, one of my favorite players. I was so glad he was back. N'Golo Kante is the man.
That is correct. In his next game, he will be playing for his 7th different Premier League manager.
Wow. There you go. And he's only been at 2 teams. That's the crazy thing. He's only been
at 2 teams, exactly. All right. Yeah, that was good. I just, I wanted to welcome you back with, ease you back into it a little bit.
Nice, easy one. And I tell you what, even when he came in, considering he hasn't played, he still looked like he was one of the best players out there. He actually had a good chance to score in the second half. He was the best player in the second half on what was a really bad game. But he is so good. He really is.
And I think is been what has been missing from Chelsea.
Yeah.
He's the difference between being a top 4 team and not. That's how good he is on that team.
Yeah, and from what I hear, he's an extremely humble person. Was driving like a little Mini Cooper to practice every day. Gives a huge amount of money back to his native country. I think he has. Obviously, he's French, but I think he has some connection to. I believe it was like Sierra Leone or something like that. One of the countries there. So he gives a lot of money back to the country to help with their own different things, because obviously he's making ridiculous amounts of money.
Right.
He's such a great player, and I'm so glad he's back.
It could work out that because he's been gone. He played one game for Graham Potter, right?
Yeah.
The game before he played
Tuchel
was with Tuchel. And the next game he plays will be with another coach. That'll be 3 different coaches in 3 games.
That's a really good point.
Right.
I didn't even think about that. That's amazing. That's probably going to be a great stat down the road.
Exactly. All right, it's time for this.
Now time for Adam's Weekend Soccer TV Tip.
So, putting you back to work. What can we watch this coming weekend?
Yeah, it's great to have the Premier League full in action. Obviously, we scored it this past week. We were lucky enough to go to the England game as well last week, which was great. England versus Ukraine, 83,000. That was awesome.
What was the score?
It's great it was 2-0 England won.
Okay, nice.
And Saka scored a tremendous goal. So here's the funny thing before we get it. So after England scored Harry Kane the first one, it was like 3 minutes before half time. So a bunch of us left. I'm going to use the bathroom real quick to get in there before everybody. Uh-huh. Then you're in the bathroom. You hear this.
I hate when that happens.
I hate it when that happens. Everybody's like, "Oh no!" Because everyone was trying to sneak in the bathroom before the big queues came in. But so that was, and it was a great goal too. If you get a chance to look back at it, Saka curled it in with his left foot. It was really a nice goal. So in terms of games this week, some really good matchups. You got Man United Everton. That's the early one, which I think is going to be a really good one to watch. Obviously, Everton on a bit of a forward momentum. I actually quite like this Brentford-Newcastle game, which is 2 teams that are playing very well as well. But for me, I think you've got to look at. I think I'm really going to be really interested in 2 games, and I'm going to kind of give 2 tips. The Leicester-Bournemouth is the relegation game that we want to see.
Right.
Definitely. I think they're going to be fighting for that. So that's on Saturday at 9 o'clock. That's going to be on Peacock. And then you have to tune in. Sunday, Liverpool, Arsenal at Anfield should be a really good one as well. So those are my 2. So a TV tip, double tip with everybody being back. So Leicester-Bournemouth on Saturday, and Liverpool and Arsenal on Sunday.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be checking those out for sure. All right, we have special thanks to pass out. We're going to say thank you to our executive producer, Tony Lasana, with opishows.com. Opie is hippo backwards, OPPIH shows.com. We're distributed by Ed Silla with Radio Misfits. Great Talk Radio isn't dead. It just moved to a better place. RadioMisfits.com. And we'll be back again next week with a brand new episode of Free Kicks.
The preceding was a presentation of Opie Productions. Find our other great shows wherever you find podcasts, including opishows.com. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of Opie Productions.
Tony, can you shut up?